Good evening. Welcome to the June 3rd, 2024 meeting of the Stillwater City Council. This time I will call the meeting to order, and I'll ask that you all stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, first up tonight, we have a proclamation in recognition of National Gun Violence Awareness Day, which is coming up this week. You'll see the orange ribbons here on the council and staff in recognition of this day. And I'll read a proclamation here, and then we have Diane Tippling, I think from Moms Demand Action or from our local chapter, that will come and say a few words as well. Whereas, in an average year, 735 Oklahomans die and 1,244 are wounded by guns, making Oklahoma the 13th highest rate of gun deaths in the United States. And whereas the city of Stillwater is dedicated to protecting public safety in our community, and whereas in January 2013, Hadia Pendleton was tragically shot and killed at the age of 15, people across the United States will recognize National Gun Violence Awareness on June 7th through 9th and wear orange in tribute to Hadia and other victims of gun violence and in support of the loved ones of those victims. And whereas the idea was inspired by a group of Hadia's friends to commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods, and orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas on June 1st, 2022, Dr. Stephanie Hewson, Dr. Preston Phillips, Amanda Glenn, and William Love were tragically shot and killed at St. Francis Hospital in Tulsa. And the Hewson family has asked communities across Oklahoma to recognize National Gun Violence Awareness Day and wear orange in tribute to Dr. Hewson, an Oklahoma State University of College of Osteopathic Medicine graduate. And whereas anyone can join by pledging to wear orange on Friday, June 7th, 2024, to help raise awareness about gun violence and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children, families, and community safe. Now, therefore, I, William Joyce, Mayor of the City of Stillwater, on behalf of the City Council and Stillwater residents, hereby declare Friday, June 7th, 2024, to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the City of Stillwater. Stippling? Yes.
So I'm just going to read this because, so thank you, Mayor Joyce and the rest of the City Council for, again, making this proclamation to raise awareness about gun violence. There are a lot of advocates in Oklahoma and across the country who work relentlessly to reduce gun violence for many years now. It is at times a tiring fight, but an important one. We must keep going. We are hopeful given some progress in the last couple of years, but there's still a lot we can do to reduce death and trauma caused by gun violence. If we're in Stillwater, if we wear orange, we say it's another reason to wear orange. This is an issue of public safety, not one of taking away gun ownership rights, but instead one of ensuring that those rights are lived out responsibly, just like we do with all rights. And you mentioned Stephanie Hewson, and they've done a lot of work and have been trying to get our legislators to listen to what may be some common sense legislation. We also try to teach just responsible gun ownership, encourage parents and other people to lock up their guns. Too often we lose children to just access. Unfortunately, though, those are just, Stephanie's just one of too many that we lose to gun violence each year. And we were hoping to have some of her friends out here tonight, but the scheduling just didn't work. So I just am encouraging people to support efforts in our state and country to educate others about gun safety and to pass common sense gun laws that will help end gun violence.
Thank you. All right, councilors, that takes us to item 4, the consent docket. Questions, comments, or action on the consent docket?
I move approval of consent.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the consent docket is approved. Next up is public hearings. Tonight we will have item A, receive public comment regarding a request from the Stillwater Holding Company for our map amendment to rezone property addressed as 1205 South Duck Street from small lot single family residential to 2-family district. Did we have good notice on this item?
Yes, we do.
Ms. Porter?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Jacqueline Porter, City Planner, presenting on behalf of the Planning Department. This item, as mentioned, is a map amendment request to rezone the property addressed as 1205 South Duck Street from small lot single family to 2-family residential district to allow the construction of a single duplex for residential infill. The subject property is located near the southeast corner of the intersection of South Duck and West 12th Avenue. The Lodge for Girl Scouts of Eastern Oklahoma is located directly north of the subject property, and north across West 12th Avenue is the Stillwater Public Library. Here's a street view looking east off of South Duck at a vacant lot that is the subject property. The current zoning of the property is small lot single family with similar zoning located in the immediate surrounding properties, with office zoning at the southwest corner of the intersection of West 12th and South Duck. Public and 2-family residential are in the vicinity of the subject property. The future land use map, which was adopted with the 2030 comprehensive plan that projected the desired uses in the area at the time of the adoption of the plan, projected the use in the area to be low-density residential on the east side of South Duck and commercial on the west side of South Duck, with public to the north of the subject property. Mr. Stover is the applicant and is here tonight to answer any questions you may have at this time. Are there any questions for staff?
Counselors, any questions for staff?
I'm just curious, and I admit to not being a zoning expert. It goes on to say that this lot is not wide enough, and so they would have to request a variance.
Correct.
And so if we approve this and it changes to residential, to 2-family residential district, and then the proper, or the, what am I looking at?
Board of Adjustment.
Thank you. Board of Adjustment doesn't approve the variance, what happens?
So, usually we would have a condition on the approval that the BOA would, if they approve, then the rezoning would occur. So that's what would usually happen in this situation.
Okay. It seemed a little backward.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No further questions. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. If the applicant wishes to say anything, he certainly can.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. Justin Stever. I'm the applicant with Stever Holding Company. I don't have anything to add, but if you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Just a curious question. That's a skinny lot. How are you going to put 2 residential units on that lot?
Well, so if you go over about 2 blocks east, I built a property there about 3 years ago on the same size lot, 50 by 150. The structure is about 1,600 square feet, so it's about 40 by 40. I still have my 5-foot setbacks on both sides and the setbacks from the front.
So they'll be front and back as opposed to side by side?
No, they'll be side by side.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Each unit is only about 800 square feet, but
Okay.
with the open concept, it's 2 bed, 2 bath. It's plenty of room for
Okay, thank you.
tenant. You bet.
No further questions. Thanks for being here. I don't have anyone else signed up for this public hearing. Was anybody else here to speak on this item? This time I'll close the public hearing. Jacqueline, what was the recommendation of Planning Commission?
Planning Commission recommended approval with a vote of 3-0.
Thank you. Counselors?
Motion to accept Planning Commission's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the recommendation from the Planning Commission. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is 7B, receive public comment regarding the proposed operating budget for fiscal year 2024-2025 and consider action to incorporate changes presented during this public hearing and/or other changes identified by the council and return to the council for review at the June 17, 2024 meeting, or direct staff to proceed with adoption of the budget as proposed in the attached schedule at the June 17, 2024 meeting. Jared Thulin's here.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. Jared Thulin, Accounting Manager, presenting on behalf of the Finance Department. I'm here this evening to introduce the public hearing for the fiscal year 2025 proposed budget. The schedule that was posted in the public hearing notice is also included in this evening's agenda packet. There have been no changes from the budget presentation held during the April 15th council meeting. Staff is available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Jared. Councilors, any questions for staff at this point? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing. I do have one speaker signed up to speak, Mr. Roger Gose.
Roger Gose, 1120 East Connell Avenue. My real concern about the whole budget is the SUA bucket that keeps drawing money out to go back to the general fund. It's going to be down now below $1 million. And reading the utility rate study, the proposal's only to bring back about $6 million a year. And if you're transferring more out than that, it's tight. I mean, it really is tight. I know you all know that. It's been going on for years, but something's got to get done about it, and I don't know what it is, and hopefully y'all can figure it out. There is a change in the budget that was presented April 15th to what you're looking at tonight. There was a communications line in the expenditures under city. There was city manager, and the next heading was communications. That's not in the one you have now. So, and very late, I talked to Brady about it, and so I know he's looked at it or working on it. The other concern I had is on this one, every capital line under that group is empty. There's no capital to do anything. We all know that. We can't fix our swimming pool. We can't fix the sun deck at the lake. It goes on and on. And there used to be $3.5 to $5 million a year in capital when the budget was arranged differently than now. Down in public works, materials and supplies, $461,000. That used to be more like $750,000 in 1999 and 2000. Materials haven't gone down, and we've got a whole lot more roads to take care of. And that's the money that seals the cracks and does the potholes. That's not the sales tax money. It's what is coming out of that public works. They fix sidewalks. They do some full depth repair of concrete. So I don't think it can be fixed this year, but y'all be mindful of it as we go forward. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. I don't have anyone else signed up to speak. Was anyone else planning to speak on the budget? This time I'll close the public hearing. Jared, would you like to address the issue that was brought up?
On the communications line item. So it's a difference in presentation in the public notice document versus what Christie presented on April 15th. The amount is there. It's just now moved to general government. So the full communications part is now included in the general government total presented in the public hearing notice. Plus there's like $4,740 that was considered in community resources in the April 15th that is now part of general government related to sister cities. So
all in that same group there, and the numbers are the same?
the numbers are the same. They've just been reclassified to general government.
Councilors, any questions? Or city manager, you have what's your recommendation for?
Our recommendation would be to direct staff to proceed with adoption of the budget by resolution at the June 17th meeting as presented in the attached schedule.
Thank you, Jared. Counselors, comments, questions, thoughts, commentary?
One of us ought to say that at least I agree with the things Roger is concerned about. I think probably we all are. And we do have to find some solutions to those problems. And I thank Roger for bringing them up again.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely agree. I think one of the things we've talked about over the years is this number in the SUA. One of the things that I would like to see us do in future budgets, right? Because 1 penny of our sales tax is dedicated to the SUA Purchase Power Fund, right? Which was how it was set up in the 70s or whenever we set up the SUA. In order to have guaranteed money to bond against for the SUA. Well, that's our sales tax that is being dedicated. 1 penny of our sales tax is dedicated to the SUA. The SUA just pays us back for that 1 penny because, they actually don't need it at this point to bond against. They have their own revenues. But that 1 cent should always come back to us. That is sales tax revenue. That's our only sales tax revenue that goes to operations. And so I think we need to make that an automatic piece of the budget. That's not the full transfer that we've taken out of SUA over the years. But the other point of SUA and the other point of the way we do electric rates is that it does provide additional revenue. I think we just need to make that clearer in future budgets, that 1 cent is actually part of the sales tax that has been dedicated to SUA and needs to be repaid to the city operating budget. And it is through that transfer. I would like to make that point a little bit clearer as we go forward. The other point is that, there is SUA reserve fund, emergency reserve funds, and those we fund. The additional money that comes out of SUA is sort of unrestricted fund balance in SUA, and that's the number that we're drawing down. And, I know Mr. Gose and I have actually talked in the past about sometimes, we've got money that sits in the city's accounts as reserves or as rainy day funds, which is great. We need to have those, but it's also money that needs to be spent on things that need to be fixed, right? And so we do have this constant tension between we want to be saving just in case something bad happens, but we also have roads that got to be fixed now, right? And so if money's just sitting in these accounts and not getting spent, that's not helping anybody either. And so there is that balance, and we have spent that down intentionally on spending it on projects that need to get done. So agreed, long term, the capital issue is a big problem. We need to find money in our budgets to fund some of these capital projects. The swimming pool is a great example that a lot of people see that we need to be able to find funding for. And so I hope we're able to do that as we move forward in future budgets. But at this point, this budget is what it takes to continue to pay our public servants and our public safety folks, to fund what we can fund out of the transportation project list, and to continue operating the city the way it needs to be operated, and finding ways to move that revenue around in future years is something we're just going to have to take on as a council. Other questions, comments, or action on the staff's recommendation?
Move we approve staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the staff's recommendation to bring this budget for approval by resolution at the next meeting. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that's approved. And again, just to clarify, that means at our next meeting, there will be a resolution on the agenda to approve the budget at that point. So thank you to everyone. I know we've gotten, it's not a huge public input night where people come and present their comments at this point, but I know we have gotten public comment over the last several weeks and months as we've been preparing this budget. We appreciate those of you who are engaged in that and bring your ideas and thoughts to us as the budget is being compiled and being brought together. And I would encourage you to continue to look at these numbers and figure out what your ideas are for how we can continue to improve the financial expenditures here at the city. All right. That takes us to item 8, general orders. 8A is the SASA annual report. Carolyn Walstead is here.
Good evening.
Hello.
How are you guys?
We're good.
Thanks for having me. I enjoy coming once a year and giving you good news. Budget, that's not so good news all the time, but I have some great news about SASA and the city of Stillwater and all that we offer. Let's go through the presentation. Oh, it's up
Carolyn,
there.
can you move your mic down just a little bit so we can hear you better?
I don't have my
you.
cheer voice on.
Thank you.
So SASA is the Stillwater Area Sports Association. We are a public-private partnership with the city. We are in our 11th year. It's crazy to think that we've been established for 11 years. Just to go through, we offer spring sports, summer sports, and fall sports. So this is our current numbers for our leagues that we had in 2023-24. It didn't go big. There we go. That looks better. Thank you. So there's our current teams that we have. And if you're out and about on a Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday evening, you see that the parks are packed. We've had 5 baseball tournaments this spring. So if this past weekend we had 67 teams here. So if you went somewhere, you saw lots of little baseball players. And we're excited that we can offer that for the city. It is getting harder, I will just say, with everyone going to turf, and we're all grass. And so with the wonderful Oklahoma weather and rain, if a team has a choice of playing on turf or playing on grass, they tend to go to the turf. However, everyone loves to come to Stillwater, and I think our staff does a great job. We've not had a rain out, knock on wood. We have one more next weekend. We've fought through. We offer adult sports also. We have adult softball and adult volleyball. We did have adult basketball, but that is temporarily on hold, mainly because of the facilities. It's hard to get the high school gym during their basketball season. And honestly, some of them thought they were NBA basketball players, and it was kind of ramrodding sometimes. But so this is our league participation per year, just so that you can kind of see how we've grown. And currently what you're seeing in the 2024 is just for our spring numbers. And so we are right on track to be ahead of our numbers for last year. We had 75 league teams that played in the spring for us, and 11 of those were out of town, and that's part of our area. Love having, Pawnee, Perkins, Morrison, Perry, Glencoe come over and play. It brings them into Stillwater. Most of the time they eat in town, buying gas. So SASA does have 3 seasons that we offer different sports. And last year we had 237 participants that we either fully funded and sponsored, or it was a partial fund. We do have senior softball league, and that's played on Tuesday nights. And I have adult women's volleyball. It's played on Tuesday nights, and we have adult co-ed that plays on Monday nights. So we have youth and adult sports for people to come out and participate. This opening night in the spring, if you guys remember, that was like wind chill. It was so cold, but our park was packed, and they were ready to get out and participate. We do a lot of partnerships with Stillwater Public Schools. It's kind of another one of my hats that I wear, and it's been a great for both Stillwater Public Schools and also the City of Stillwater and SASA. Lincoln Academy came down and they did their PE class 2 days a week in the SASA Armory gym. So here's my tournament numbers, and to me, it's pretty impressive to think of all of these teams that are coming in. We've had teams from Kearney, Nebraska, Colorado, and they enjoy Stillwater. It's a great, big, small, little town feel. We always get comments and compliments on it. We also have a partnership with the Stillwater Public Schools. During the spring, Wittenberg is used as a JV practice facility, and then in the fall, we host several of the junior high and JV softball games when there's a conflict with Little Couch. The games are played there. So this year in the spring, we were able to have all K-ball and T-ball teams play at Little Couch on the turf, and let me tell you, those parents love that. The kids, they think that they're pretty big time to be out on the field. So again, appreciate the partnership with Stillwater Public Schools. We have designed something this year. Laura Clark came and we designed what we call Stilly Gear. And it's a place where people can donate used or slightly used new items, soccer cleats, baseball cleats, bats, gloves, whatever that you have in your closet that your child has outgrown. And we have that in the basement of the Armory. And parents can come and grab what they need, and once you're finished with it, bring it back. So it's a great, I don't want to say nice shopping, but they're coming, and it's definitely a need. You know, kids grow so fast and they're out of their cleats sometimes in the middle of a season. So we're excited to get that kicked off. Here's my youth tournament baseball total. And currently, I've had 326 teams for the 5 tournaments that we had this spring. That's over almost 4,000 youth baseball players that have come in. We do have another tournament this coming weekend. It's U-Trip State, so there'll be people at Babcock and also Wittenberg. Friday afternoon, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday. This weekend, we finished because of the rain delay at 11:30 last night. So if you saw lights on late, there was still people in the park. We offer tennis lessons. We have 3 sessions. We begin this coming Monday, the 10th. Braden Young, Coach Young's son, is kind of our tournament tennis director. Community service, with 75 teams, it takes a lot of volunteer. Our coaches are not paid. It's a parent or a friend, a college student, but over 425 volunteer hours between the coaches. SASA also held a youth volleyball tournament in the Annex, and it was nice. We partnershiped with them last year in the Annex. This year, there was a conflict, and so we moved it to Stillwater Public Schools, and it worked out great. But one of my slides that I'm most proud of is the junior high, the Stillwater softball SJHS. 27 of the 28 for the softball played under SASA, and for the baseball, 18. All 18 of those were SASA. So it's working. Our kids are staying, they're playing, and then they're being part of the high school program. We have Special Olympics. We partner with the city on that. We do adults. We do the softball out at the airport fields. And we were thankful that we got to play at least one game. They played on Wednesday. Thursday was a rain out. And this is just kind of a participation when you think about the activities. So SASA had 75 teams this spring, 12 players per team. We have 8 weeks of games and 8 weeks of practices. So 5,400 events or activities that SASA has kind of helped coordinate. Economic impact, I got this from several years ago from Visit Stillwater. Again, this is an estimation, but this is their formula ratio that we had used. So we had 326 teams. That doesn't include this coming weekend. Times 2 fans, times 2 coaches, estimated my officials. It's a pretty impressive number if you look at how much money is being spent for that's coming in. And again, this is just spring tournaments for baseball. We did do 1 softball. We did 2 league tournaments this year also. So please consider, I mean, you just talked about budget and all that was cut, and here I'm saying please consider, but please consider. I think if you build it, they will come. We do partner with Oklahoma State. We have a good relationship. SASA teams get to go and perform at halftime and pregame before the games. For men's and women's basketball, I use OSU tennis players, instructors over the summer months. We helped pack the house for the wrestling tickets. And baseball, if you go to baseball, there was lots of different teams there in their jerseys. We did build a storage unit out at Wittenberg, so if you've been out at the park, you will see that. We need more storage. Capital investment-wise, we've bought a new tractor, we've a new mower, and of course built the building this year. We've replaced the batting cages at Babcock, done little hoops. I did purchase weighted tarps for our home plates to try and help us eliminate some of our rainouts, and we've put them up and down a lot this season. But plans to update the dugouts, we partnered with the city, thanks to Barb Bliss, the city welder, Kevin, would go in and weld the dugouts, and then SASA purchased the tin to get rid of the old wooden roofs and raise them. So all parks are done except airport, and we're just kind of waiting to see the time frame on the airport and why invest money if it's going to change. We did mid-season tournaments. We've been in field improvements at each parks. I've had 5 tournaments completed, 2 softball. We have adult softball tournament scheduled in 2 weeks. The senior association for the state of Oklahoma is coming in and renting the fields, and they're doing a senior baseball tournament, or senior adult softball tournament. Excited for that.
When will that be?
It is in 2 weeks. And if I had a wish list, like the pies in the sky, a 6 to 8 field complex with turf fields, I just promised that the investment would pay for itself. And I hope that you would consider SASA as one of your partners that does take care of the capital investments that you have allowed for SASA to use. That is my outstanding board. And I'm out. Any questions?
Thank you, Carolyn. We appreciate you being here. Counselors, questions?
Could you repeat, you had mentioned scholarships or entry fees y'all pay. How many did you say y'all paid in a given year?
Well, this is the highest year that we have paid, and it's either partial or full. Let me go back and look at that exactly. I pulled that. And we base that on need through the Stillwater Public Schools. They verify with us. Oh, I missed it. 237, and it was up from last year's.
Okay, thank you.
But we don't want to deny a child to play.
Of course. And I would just say, and I think I say this every year because I just love that we have these avenues for kids to be playing sports, I think, and adults, and just the physical benefits, the emotional benefits, and then the learning to work with a team and be on a team, I think is such a great service that our community has through SASA.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Any other questions?
I would just add that the gear exchange thing I think is a great idea. I know actually I've got some stuff in my garage that I can bring over there.
Okay, I think I do too.
Yeah. But I mean that's one of the I think barriers sometimes for kids and families to be able to play, especially things like baseball with bats and equipment and that kind of stuff that you don't have, or maybe a tennis racket or that kind of thing. So it's I think that's great, and I will help get the word out to make sure people like myself with a bunch of outgrown sports equipment in the garage that needs to get over there so somebody else can get some use out of it.
Yes.
And on the baseball field front, I understand the need, and we've certainly been talking to folks and trying to figure out how we can make more fields available, because like you said, if you build it, they do come, and we've seen I've seen the tournament weekends and the crowds that come in for it, and I know how impactful that can be. So we'll continue to work towards hopefully being able to bring something to Stillwater that really adds to what we're able to offer, and you guys are doing a great job of stewarding the resources that we have now. So try to figure out how to get more invested in it.
Thank you. And when we're talking turf fields, I have no desire nor need for a full turf, but if we could do the infield, it would make a world of difference. So in consideration of that. But Thank you so much for your time and your support. I appreciate each of you.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Thank you.
That takes us to 8B, the Stillwater Animal Welfare Update from Don Dodson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. At the May 8 City Council meeting, staff provided an update that included concerns and limitations regarding the existing animal welfare facility. We also shared a new potential location on Hargis Road near the airport and OSU Flight School. Staff submitted the required FAA application to alter and construct on that property, but we have not yet received final clearance. Throughout the past few years, we have discussed a possible funding avenue for this project with a GO bond election, since it was designated as a community need by staff and residents. In February 2023, we hired 505 Architects to provide a preliminary scope of work and project cost estimate. Throughout the past year, the estimate to build a new animal welfare facility has ranged between $6.75 to $7.2 million. From here, we plan to continue moving forward with this project. However, it is not practical at this time with the August 27, 2024 ballot, since we do not have final FAA clearance and the June 12 resolution deadline is fast approaching. Staff will continue working through the FAA process, gathering information from our community, and looking at the early 2025 election dates, and those will not be released until July 1st. Community members who would like additional information regarding the animal welfare and other time projects, please go online to stillwaterok.gov/time or stillwaterok.gov/animal welfare, or please feel free to contact me by email dawn.dodson, DODSON@stillwaterok.gov, or via phone at 405-742-8214. At this time, does council have guidance, suggestions, or can staff help answer any questions?
Counselors?
Do we feel like, I know we don't feel like the FAA clearance would be ready, cleared by August. Do we feel like there's any issue with it being cleared by the time spring 2025 vote would be put on the docket?
Well, there's a couple areas of FAA clearance, and so one avenue was 4 to 6 weeks, and we're past that 6-week mark, and we haven't received that yet. We've been back and forth with them, and then honestly, we don't know how long it could take. We have submitted all of the required information and will continue to respond to their questions. Kelly Reed is here and can help answer any of those questions too. She's been a great asset for us with this, and a great friend to animal welfare. But honestly, we just don't know how long. And the last thing we want to do is staff come before council and give a recommendation for a piece of property that it hasn't quite met all approvals yet by FAA.
I had someone ask me this weekend if it, about like next steps, and we knew from this agenda that FAA was part of it. And we know from other projects that when we're working around the airport, a lot of times it's a height challenge. I wouldn't think that the animal welfare would be that height. Can you, or maybe Kelly, just remind us as a community what the requirements are kind of around the different zones of the airport and why those FAA approvals are so necessary?
Yes. Good evening, councilors, mayor. So there's 2 FAA approvals that we're seeking. One is the obstruction evaluation process, where the FAA looks at the height of a structure and whether or not that would be a safety issue to aircraft inbound or outbound from the airport. That's the approval that we haven't heard back from yet. I don't anticipate a concern. It's further away from the airfield and the runway than other structures and less tall, so I'm not concerned about that one. The other step is seeking FAA reclassification of that land, basically rezoning. It's not commercially zoned as non-aeronautical space, and that's what we need to be able to move forward with that.
Okay, yeah, I think that's it's helpful. I don't think people realize like the footprint, there's the footprint of the airport, and then there's kind of those zones around the airport where they still have, the FAA still has kind of a jurisdiction over what happens there and how it happens. So thank you.
I recall we had some issues with, or potentially had some issues with the solid waste management and the recycling transfer station out there, that we got that approved pretty quickly and pretty easily, I believe.
That is.
You were not around at the time that happened.
I was not.
Though.
I was not. But we are seeking to get the whole area in that quadrant allocated to, or rezoned to non-aeronautical use. That's on the side of the road where there's no access to the airfield, so nobody can access a runway or taxiway. So we're seeking that entire area so we can clean up some leases that have needed that in the past.
And also in the same place was a cement plant when they were reworking all the apron area. And that's gone now, but was that
Right,
a
that was
temporary?
a
Did they have to get
use.
approval for that?
Was there FAA approval for that? I can
Again,
check.
it's before your time, I know.
I can check.
So-
In our master plan process that we're hoping to bring back to council soon with final recommendations, that'll be part of that. It's part of our airport layout plan. That was a recommendation made in that plan as well to rezone those areas.
Thank you.
I would just like to add that that is also part of the work that we've done collectively as a team, as to reassess all areas, and regardless of what was done before us, to reassess again and again to make sure that we are coming with you with a correct and healthy recommendation.
I will just add that when we talked about this last time, I made some comments about wanting to hear from the community about, is this something that they want us to put on a ballot? And I will say that the response was pretty strong, and it was, I think, mostly positive, or at least mostly folks that said, yes, please put it on a ballot. I want to vote yes for a bond like this. I got also some responses that said, yes, put it on a ballot so I can vote no. And that's understandable. I get that. But from my standpoint, certainly the feedback that I've gotten so far has been, yes, the community is certainly clamoring for the opportunity to support, or to at least have the chance to vote on this project. And so I do want, as we're moving, potentially pushing this back a little bit, to wait for getting all the clearances and getting all the planning done correctly, which is also something we talked about last time, to make sure that when we get into time to actually bid out a project, we have very good understanding of exactly what all those costs are going to be. It's certainly not a delay based on we're not sure that we want to go forward with this.
Correct.
I've certainly seen what I needed to see, that the community supports putting this on a ballot and putting it out there. And so I'm excited to do that as quickly as we can. But I completely appreciate what staff is saying about, making sure we've got all of our ducks in a row before we put this on that ballot. But it will be on a ballot, and it will be on a ballot as quickly as we can clear all of the regulatory and planning hurdles.
And I would add that as we continue to have delays and push this further out, we need to update the cost estimates, because we don't want to get down the road and have 2-year-old estimates that we're taking to the voters.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Agreed.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you.
Takes us to item 9, ordinances on first reading. Ordinance 3538, an ordinance rezoning attractive land located at 1205 South Duck Street from small lot single family residential district RSS to 2-family residential district RT. This is from the item earlier in the evening. Councilors, questions, comments, or action on the item?
When this comes back for second reading, can we have a qualifier that talks specifically about it being contingent upon them receiving a Board of Adjustments variance? Is that appropriate or not appropriate? It was
Not
indicated
appropriate
earlier
in
it
the
would be.
ordinance that actually rezones the property. I would have to look into that further.
Okay.
I need to,
Well, I would hate to see us rezone a piece of property that ultimately doesn't get a duplex put on it because they can't get their variance. And then it's zoned for
well, it's-
2-family.
yeah, the rezoning has to occur first, and then in order for the applicant to
understand
seek the
that.
relief that they're requesting from the Board of Adjustment.
Yeah, I actually wasn't entirely clear about that answer
I
from
don't think you
earlier,
can do
because
it
I don't
as
know that we
rezone
can make it
conditionally.
contingent.
No,
I mean,
it's an approve or deny in the code for the map
Yeah.
amendment
I
zoning.
know the zoning, we can't base the zoning based on what's going to be built there one way or the other. So I think if we're approving the zoning, it's going to be approving the zoning, whether that structure ends up getting built or not.
All right.
Could I ask a question? And it may be for you, Jacqueline, sorry. So it's not currently wide enough for the structure that he's proposing, or it's not currently wide enough to meet 2-family residential?
The 2-family residential zoning district, it is currently legal conforming with an RSS zoning. Going to RT, it will become non-conforming on the width. Everything else is correct. For whatever reason, it requires a 60-foot width and a 7,500 square foot area. They have that, but just don't have the 60. So
Okay, thank you.
But, I mean, I think from our standpoint, the question of whether the lot should be or it's appropriate to zone that lot as a two-family district has to stand or fall on its own, not based on
Okay.
whether that structure ends up getting built or not.
All right, then I move to advance it to second reading. Ordinance
Second.
3538.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to advance ordinance 3538 to second reading. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that ordinance is advanced to second reading. That takes us to reports from the officers and the board. Ms. Carnley,
Nothing to report.
Ms. Meek,
Stillwater Regional Airport is hosting a TSA pre-check enrollment at the airport on Monday, June 10th through Thursday, June 13th, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and 1 to 5 p.m. And then again on Friday, June 14th from 9 a.m. until 12 p.m. Getting TSA pre-check will expedite the security screening process at most U.S. airports and helps flyers avoid the usual screening of personal items like laptops and shoes. Enrollment is for 5 years with a one-time fee of $78 for the in-person process or $70 online. For more information, go to stillwaterok.gov/airport. Also going on at the airport are the Fly Day food trucks. Join us at the old OSU Flight Center, 1818 Wright Drive, from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. on June 14th. This year's diners can experience airside dining located within the fence. Fly Day food trucks, it's what's for lunch.
excellent. I know a lot of the frequent travelers at my day job are very excited about the opportunity to renew their TSA pre-check here, because normally you've got to go to an airport in Oklahoma City or Tulsa to do that.
Yep.
So
My
that's
wife and I
great.
have our appointments.
Excellent. Vice Mayor Jalewski.
Did you know that we have a citizens request tracker on our new website? This is an avenue for residents to report concerns regarding drainage and flooding, streetlight outages, trash collection issues, animal control requests, and much more. Please consider using this system to let our employees know concerns that need to be checked out and possibly repaired. To get started, go to stillwaterok.gov/report.
I'll just make my additional pitch for this service. It's fantastic, and every time someone texts me directly and says, hey, there's weeds on this street, or there's this thing happening, I always tell them, hey, if you go to stillwaterok.gov/report, you can type in any of the issues you have, and it will get tracked, and you can go back and follow up. And because if you text me about it, you may not be able to. You never know. The follow-up is not always there. I appreciate that, and I think that system's great. I think it should be the most used part of our
Yeah,
website, really.
I think that's awesome too. I think we should add one though that's like a happy report, because we just got our new street light, the LED street light, and it's amazing. I love it, and I wish I could just say thank you. So thank you.
You can. Lauren's right
Thank
there.
you, Lauren.
Councilor Hawkins.
Save the date and celebrate Independence Day with Stillwater's 30th Boomer Blast fireworks show on Thursday, July 4th at Boomer Lake Park. Festivities will kick off at 6:30 p.m. with food trucks, music, and more. The fireworks show will begin around 9:30 p.m. The city will continue to share event details on social media and online at stillwaterok.gov/Boomer Blast.
Always a great time. Councilor Clark.
Stillwater Community United will be celebrating Juneteenth at Southern Woods Park on Saturday, June 15 from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. All community members are invited to gather for games, music, free food and drinks, and entertainment for the whole family. For more information about the event, go to visitstillwater.org/SWO Community United. Also, City Hall will be closed in observance of Juneteenth on Wednesday, June 19. Trash, recycling, and yard waste will be collected as usual.
Excellent. Thank you. Councilor Harden.
Save the date and join Stillwater Police Department for Cops and Donuts. Friday, June 7th, 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. at Daylight Donuts at 517 South Perkins. This is a great opportunity for community members and officers to build and strengthen relationships, have important conversations, and enjoy a sweet treat in the process. We hope to see you there. And I've got to make a comment about the LED lights. A friend of mine has complained about, because the new LED in my front yard is so bright, I've got to go get some different curtains for my bedroom.
Can't make everyone
Yeah.
happy.
That's right, you just can't win, Lauren.
I will remind you that our primary election, local primary election, is coming up on June 18th. Please get to know the candidates. There's local, state, federal offices being contested. Then vote for who you believe best meets the needs of your family and our community. Depending on your location, the ballot will look different. It includes a county commissioner seat, seat 2. Sample ballots, polling locations, and local and more important information are available at Payne County Election Board website, votepaynecounty.com. Go to votepaynecounty.com, put in your information about your voting registration, and it will actually show you the exact ballot that you'll get on June 18th, because there are a lot of, like the state reps that don't cover all the city. I know I think I was only one at my house, and there's like 2 or 3 in other places. So votepaynecounty.com. Make sure you're up to date on who's going to be on your ballot June 18th, and go out and vote. All right, that takes us to appointments. Western Payne County Ambulance Authority, WPCATA, my favorite acronym I think we get to say on a somewhat regular basis, is the organization that helps organize ambulance service in the area. Elaine Ackerson's term is expiring in July, and she is interested and willing to serve another term. So I would like to move that we reappoint Elaine Ackerson to the Western Payne County Ambulance Trust Authority.
Second.
A motion and a second for that appointment. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, Elaine Ackerson is appointed to a new 3-year term on the Western Payne County Ambulance Trust Authority. Thank you so much, Elaine, for your willingness to serve there. Also, we have a seat on the Planning Commission open for a 3-year term. There's 1 vacancy and 2 members that have terms expiring in July. So we have, let's see, 2 people who are currently on, Mark Brather and Mike Shanahan, who are willing to continue to serve. I will move that we reappoint them to new seats on the Planning Commission. And of the open seat, we had 4 applicants, and I will move that we appoint David Peters to that seat. So Mark Brather, Mike Shanahan, and David Peters appointed to the Planning Commission is my motion.
Second.
Motion a second on those appointments. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, those appointments are made to the Planning Commission. Again, we appreciate Mark and Mike for continuing to serve on the Planning Commission. It's a very important role that we see a lot in the planning process, and also to David Peters for his willingness to join that group. Nothing further on the City Council agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn Stillwater City Council. Please vote. The vote of 5-0, the Stillwater City Council is now adjourned. At this time, I will call to order the Stillwater Utilities Authority meeting for June 3rd, 2024. On the consent docket, trustees, items that you wish to remove or action on the consent docket.
Please pull item B.
Item B, pulled from the consent docket. Further comments, questions, or action on the remaining items?
Motion to approve consent docket minus item B.
Second.
With a motion and a second to approve the consent docket minus item B, please vote. With a vote of 5-0, those items are approved. Items removed from the consent docket. Item B, approved Blue Peak pole attachment agreement.
Good evening, trustees. Lauren Smith, Electric Utility Director. I understand that there might have been a question.
There might have been.
Yeah. Be happy to answer that if I can.
So the primary question was, I keep seeing more and more wires and cables on our poor little utility poles. Does that pose a risk for us in the event of wind, ice, storms, whatever?
So there's lots of variables there,
Okay.
but I'll start with a few. It probably doesn't help, but it probably doesn't hurt to the detriment of, we would say that was the root cause of the pole failure, right? All the pole attachments are typically about midway on the pole, and at the top of the pole is where all the weight is being carried, where you have the transformers and wires and cross arms and such like that, and the pole at the top is skinnier, right? They get thicker as they go down to the base. And so as part of the application process, the applicant has to have an engineer go out and study the poles and make sure that there's room for loading of the infrastructure they're going to put on our poles. And so that's really taken care of there. And it does look like a lot, but a lot of things could happen. You say wind, you add ice and wind, it could add. But typically what we see is tree limbs and tree branches falling into our infrastructure, taking it down, rather than the causes of the lower lying pole attachments.
Okay. And the follow-up question was, is our fee that we're charging for these pole attachments, is it an adequate fee?
You bet. So we really got ahead of the curve back in 2018. There was a law passed, Senate Bill 1388, that basically set the not to exceed prices for pole attachments and application fees and all those things. And so we adopted those numbers, those amounts, as well as we took the APPA pole attachment agreement template that they had, and we modified it to fit our system and included those numbers in it. So, I would say that we're well ahead of the curve, more so than maybe other municipalities, because we went through that effort back then.
And you gave me some numbers about what that amounts to over the course of a year.
Yeah, so we're really seeing a good revenue stream here. That the idea is to recover the cost to replace the poles, to help offset the cost to replace the poles. And, we're bouncing up against $100,000 annually from Blue Peak. And so we're excited about that. That's, around 140 poles perhaps a year that we could replace if they fail. So,
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Trustee Harden, do you have a motion on the item?
I do. Motion to approve item B from the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions, comments? Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, item B from the consent docket is approved. Nothing further on the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn SUA?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the Stillwater Utilities Authority. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, Stillwater Utilities Authority is now adjourned, and that concludes our meetings for the evening.